Welcome to Abandoned to Abundant, the podcast where we reclaim our power, we rewrite our stories, and step fully into the abundant life we deserve. I am your host, Linda Brand. I am a certified life coach, a dream builder coach, and an entrepreneur. I know what it feels like to be lost, stuck, and alone. I know what it feels like to be abandoned by life's circumstances, but I also know what it takes to rebuild and create a life of overflowing with passion, purpose, joy, and abundance. You are worthy of living a life of joy and abundance. If you're here, there's a reason. If you're ready to break free from limiting beliefs, step into your most authentic self, learn to love yourself, manifest the life of your dreams, you are in the right place. Let's shift from feeling abandoned to feeling abundant. Are you ready? Let's go. Welcome, Karina, to the show. I'm so excited to talk to you today. Would love to start with what inspired you originally to get into film and TV production?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to talk to you too.
Thank you.
Yeah. What inspired me to get into TV? Well, I think I really wanted to do it ever since I was really little. Like when I was 3 or 4, I knew I wanted to be in the industry. I used to watch comedians on TV and thought, this is cool. I want to make people laugh too, or I want to do this. But I just didn't really know how to get involved. There's no book where you can, pick it up, or there wasn't back then, maybe there is now, that can tell you how to get started, what to do. So it was kind of a journey. And that's why I started my podcast too, to interview people and see how they got to where they are today.
Amazing. Tell us a little bit about your background, wherever you'd like to begin, whatever you want to start with. Just share a little bit with people who are unfamiliar and let us know what drew you to create the Tallulah films and what sets your company apart from other industries, how you went from an actress to film producer, or you're still.
It's funny because I started in the modeling industry. I got discovered at a mall, which is everyone's story, I think, in Ohio at the time. And, gradually I started going from modeling the commercials and then doing smaller things on TV and movies, and then moving on to bigger stuff. And then I decided that I wanted to take a break. I got married and I wanted to have kids. So I have 2 daughters now. I wanted to spend time with them. I didn't want to be on set and be far away from home. So I took a break from the acting stuff, and then I started to do producing. And that was a struggle too, because I moved to Florida from LA, and all of a sudden I was the model that was trying to be a producer, So it was kind of weird at the time. I'm thinking, okay, this is awkward. I don't really know anything. And I was just so green. But that was, oh my gosh, how long ago was that? Probably 15 years ago now.
Okay.
So, I just kept learning and picking up as I went along. And then at some point, I think I decided, I remember asking my husband, will people think I'm crazy if I want to start my own company? Tallulah Films was the company. And he said, no, you should do it. So I think having him say that kind of made me feel like, okay, I can do this. So I was just kind of growing as I went along and taking on new things. And then with Tallulah Films, we got really busy right before the pandemic. And then everything shut down, obviously. I wanted to be busy still. So that's when I did the podcast, because I was like, well, I'm really bored. I want to keep creating and doing things. So I was like, I can do this at home and talk to people. Yeah. I didn't know if I was going to keep going with it. It was really something that I was like, maybe I'll just do one. I don't know. I've never done this before. And then that kept growing. So I think those 2 things together, having the films and having the podcast, and really kind of like opened my world up. And I was able to think outside the box a little bit.
Beautiful.
Does that make sense? A little bit? Yeah.
So how old are your girls? And it's so nice that you have a wonderful, supportive husband. Where in Florida are you? Because I'm also in Florida.
You are? Okay. So I'm close to Orlando now,
Oh, wow.
But I kind of bounce around a little bit. I was in Miami this past weekend, where we used to live. And where are you based?
I'm in Bradenton.
Yeah, you're far. Okay.
Yes, Lakewood Ranch. I know. I love it. And I have an idea for a film that I want to talk to you.
Oh, you do? Okay, we'll talk later then.
I was getting ready for you and I'm like, wait a minute. This could be very divine, because it could be yeah. So no, I love that. How old are your girls now?
Yes. So they are, oh my gosh, 14 and 8. I can't believe it. So I have one going to high school next year. And I'm like, how did this happen? I don't remember. She was just in like 3rd grade, and now she's
right. It's crazy. So how do you decide which projects to take on and what makes a story worth producing?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I want to say it's kind of cliche, but like a gut feeling about it. I get a lot of pitches that people will email me and I read them, and a lot of them are very good. But the one that I pick really has to stand out and has to speak to me. And if I'm excited about it and I'm passionate about it and I want to share it with others, then that's something that I want to do. And usually it's the ones, if I go through my emails and I'm like, okay, which one are people going to like? Which one is an audience? Who's going to like this the most? That's not the way to do it for me anyway.
I like
So,
so
yeah.
it has to resonate with you personally and you have to yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through the process of bringing a film from the idea to completion?
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's a process. People don't understand how long it is. Yeah, so usually, depending on what it is, like the one that we just won the Emmy for, which is Heart of Florida PD, that one was a little different. It's a documentary. And that was tricky because I had to get permission. So I'd had this idea for a while and I thought, wow, there's so much negativity with police officers. But I was seeing so much positivity around me in my community. I thought, I wish everybody could see this. But with that one, I had to get permission. And it took me a little over a year to just get permission to go into the police department because they didn't know who I was. They didn't know what I was trying to do or what I was going to film. So that one was a little bit trickier. And then we just started filming. Once we got permission, we would just go. It was a small crew. It was me and also my camera guy, Daniel Trout, who's amazing. And we did the sound, and that was it. Because, in a car, you can't fit any more people in there.
Yeah.
It's just two of you. So sometimes we had to split up. He would go with one and I would go with another. So once you start filming, you get all of your footage, and there's usually a lot, and then you have to start piecing it together because there's not a storyboard like when you usually do a movie, what your scenes are and everything like that. So then it's just kind of creating the story and editing. And then once you've edited, you have your final product, then we start submitting to film festivals. And then you get distribution and voila, I guess. They're all a little bit different, but it usually goes like that.
Yeah. Are you still acting at this point?
Yes, I'm actually acting a lot right now, which is really fun because I always knew I wanted to get back into it. My kids started to get a little bit older. I just didn't know when. And I thought at some points I was like, maybe I'll be like Betty White, I'll be like 70 years old. I'll be that lady. And I'm okay with it, but because that was really my first love, that's what I wanted to do. A couple of years ago, I was talking to another actor and producer friend of mine, Vincent DePaul. I called him and I said, hey, I want to do a Christmas movie. He'd done a few of these. He said, okay, let's do it. Then he said, well, you're going to be in it, right? You can be one of the leads. I was like, well, I've done this in like 8 to 9, 10 years, whatever it is. And then I said, maybe just give me a small part. And he said, no, you're going to be one of the leads. I was like, okay. So
What show is it? You're going to be the lead.
and I'm glad that he did it. He pushed me out of my comfort zone at the time because I was like, oh, I've been out of this for a little bit on the camera. But it was so much fun and we had such a great time. Ever since then, I've just been booking more things and it's just kind of really picked up. And I'm actually not producing anything right now. So I've just kind of sat back and I'm waiting for the next thing to kind of jump out to me and to want to do. But the acting stuff has definitely been busy. So it should have been great.
How would you say the entertainment industry has changed in the past 20 years?
Wow. When I started in LA, which was a little over 20 years ago, there weren't many women producers. And I didn't even know a woman could be a producer, to tell you the truth. I knew I wanted to do something else. I knew I liked other things behind the camera. I remember taking a studio makeup course. I was like, this is fun just to know more about it. But yeah, there weren't too many. It was not a thing. So that's really changed. There are a lot more women now doing amazing things. And I think with the industry itself, it's become a lot more, what's the word? I guess with like the Me Too movement, a little bit, it's changed. It's gotten better in that respect. And now we have intimacy coordinators, which never used to happen. If you have a love scene or you have to kiss someone, there's actually someone there to say, okay, this is how this is going to work. And to make you feel comfortable. Back then, it was like, you just did the scene and, that's how it was. Yeah.
What is the Me Too movement? I'm not familiar.
So it was when Actually, I don't know the exact details, but it was more, I guess there were certain men that were in like more predatory,
Mm, okay.
women, casting couch, that type of
Oh,
thing. So
okay. Got you.
I was never, I mean, I never had any issue at all, but
Yeah.
I was always very lucky, very professional, very lucky about it.
That's amazing. What advice do you have for women looking to break into the film production and executive roles? I'm interrupting this podcast to inform you that my free vision workshops are back. Every Tuesday at 5 o'clock Eastern, join me for a live, interactive, and power-packed 30-minute vision workshop. Learn 3 powerful, proven ways to master your results, gain clarity, confidence, and direction. I'm so excited to offer this again, something I love doing. I'm excited to share it with you. You will walk away ready to take action on your dreams, desires, and goals. There is no fluff, just real, true strategies to help you create the life and business you desire. So join us for this free interactive workshop. I am so excited. The link is in the show notes.
I think just to learn as much as you can, I feel like knowledge is power. Networking is huge. Go to anything local. A lot of people, I think they have to go to New York or LA or Atlanta is a really big market now out here. And that's great, but I wouldn't be afraid to do things locally, get comfortable with that, then move on to a bigger city or be the big fish in a small pond. There's work everywhere now, which is exciting. But used to just be in the big cities.
Nice. I was going to ask if you had anything you were excited about. But you said you're not working on anything at the moment, so I'm not going to.
Producing?
Yeah.
I have a couple of roles coming up that I'm helping with producing, which I am excited about. There's one movie called Carver Cove that's coming up. I have another movie called Blood Money 2, where I'm playing a drug lord lady. So that should be fun. But I love to mix it up. I don't like to get stuck in just like one genre. If something catches my eye, I'm like, yeah, if it sounds fun, let's do it.
Tell us about your podcast a little bit. What is the theme? What do you talk about? Is it interviews or all solos?
Yeah, it's mostly interviews. I think I did a couple of solos, but mostly interviews with creative people in the industry, some entrepreneurs, musicians, directors. There's been a little bit of everything. Some I just record with friends. Like we just did one. If I'm backstage or something somewhere and I think, oh, this would be good, I'll just pull my phone out. But yeah, it's all about the journey. So I think like I kind of touched on in the beginning, it was always fascinating to me, like how do people get from here to here? What happened? And everyone's journey is different. And I think it's a useful place for people to go that want to get into the industry because they can pick up on all these tips that maybe they wouldn't have known if they hadn't listened.
And what is it called? The podcast?
It's called Coffee with Karina, Entertainment Unfiltered.
I interviewed a friend who is a breathwork facilitator, Reiki healer, Akashic reader. She's all these things and a former actress. She said her first podcast was called Actor Wound. And she was saying, and I just wanted to touch on this with you, that she called it Actor Wound because it was around why people go into the industry thinking that it's because they need attention, because they need validation, because like some kind of thing like that. And I was thinking that was interesting because what if they just loved film like you knew when you wanted to be an actress, you wanted to be entertaining, right? Do you know anything about what she's talking about with the actor room?
I mean, I feel like people go into acting for different reasons. And whatever that is, I think it can be healing to whatever they're going through. I have a friend who just recently got divorced and she's ready to step into her new self and wants to get out there and do things. She's like, can I do this? Yeah, go on set, and she's making it happen, just little things, but I think everybody has a different reason. Some people love to watch themselves. I hate watching myself. That's not part of my process. The part I really like actually is the work beforehand, like breaking down the script, creating the character. I love that part of the work and that connection and getting on set. I love the magic of it. But yeah, I think people do like it for different reasons sometimes.
Where did you come up with the Tallulah? I'm curious because I love the name. It's cute.
Yeah, thank you. I always like that name too. I always wanted three girls. I have two dogs, two girl dogs.
Okay.
Lulu was like my third child. When you have a business, it's like that's your baby. Take care of it, water it, and do all these things to make it grow. There's a place in Georgia that's really beautiful called Tallulah Gorge. It's a stunning place, and there's waterfalls, and it's just really beautiful. So it was a little bit of that too.
Oh, nice. I love that. And then your husband's supportive. What line of work is he in? Just curious. You know.
Yes, he used to be an actor too. That's how we met, but that was years ago. He owns a company called Fresh Patch, which actually I'm involved with as well. We were on Shark Tank a few
Yeah,
years ago.
I read that somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Fresh Patch.
So we stay busy. There's always something going on. And it's grass for dogs. So, and it's funny, so many times on set, it always comes up, the Fresh Patch thing. They're like, you have that product for dogs. And I'm like, yeah, everyone has a dog or a cat.
Oh,
So
is it like an indoor thing for them, for the small dogs or something?
it is. It's like a little piece of grass that will get shipped to your house. And the dogs can go to the bathroom, they can lay on it. Some use it as a bed. Cats actually really like it too now. So we're kind of doing a big push towards cats. They love
Wow.
the grass. So.
Now, when you had that invention, like who came up with that? Was that him, your husband?
He did. I was actually at work. I was at my producing job and he came up with it, which is
I'm just curious because I have an invention for dogs too. I reached out to a company by Googling and they want this amount of money. There's the protocol, like there's all this, and they are so persistent. They do not stop contacting me.
yeah.
But I'm curious, did you go that route with like you hired someone else or did you guys just
He, I believe, did it. You mean like in the beginning when you start off with
like,
like patent and that type of thing? Yeah, he was lucky. He knows people,
okay,
and I had family that helped a little bit, but we did a lot of it ourselves. We really bootstrapped in the beginning, and
love
then
it.
it grew to be the company it is today. But
What did he do before that? Oh, he's an
what
actor.
did he was an actor, a commercial actor, yeah. And he was out of work when he was at home thinking this idea. He's like, I need to start because I was the one that came here to work the producing job at Lifetime, and he didn't have a job. He just happened to be at home taking care of our dog and came up with the idea.
So you've
Yeah.
had film showcased at over 70 festivals. How important are film festivals for independent filmmakers today?
They're so important for so many reasons. I mean, that's changing too, because a lot now is obviously on the platforms, on these online. So movies go there, but it used to
Yeah.
be that's where you would go to find distribution a lot of time. It was a must if you wanted to get it out there. It's also just such a warm, inviting place, like a community of people that are all creators. And it's great to meet other people doing the same thing. A lot of times you'll meet people and maybe want to create something with them later. So it's a great thing to do if you're just starting out or if you've been doing it a while.
I love that. I don't normally have questions, but lately I've been gathering them just to make it more interesting. So yeah, can you share any behind the scenes insights from one of your recent film productions? Or you did with the police thing, right?
Behind the scenes, I did a little thing that I don't usually do, but it was local. If something's fun and local, and I know people that are in it, and they, we're kind of a family, I guess you could say. So I said yes to it. I think it's called Orlando International. We did this thing. It's called Love at the Diner. And it's a comedy. We were on set about a month ago. It's such a fun role. And I play this kind of, I don't say crazy. I love playing like these complex women, characters. They're usually the most fun. But I had this kind of like not scandalous. How do I explain? It was almost like Samantha from Sex and the City, that type of character. It's always funny when you go to set in like a certain look. It's not really you, because you're meeting these people for the first time. That's always interesting when you show up and, it's like a little out there and people are like, well, hello. Yeah. Yeah, but that was fun. So that should be coming out soon. I think it's judged or it's some kind of contest or something.
Very cool. So as a
Yeah.
female executive producer, what challenges have you faced in the industry and how have you overcome them?
Challenges in the industry. Well, I think when I started, I mean, just being female, just being a woman. And a lot of times I'm the only woman in a room full of men that I don't know well. You really have to sometimes just speak your truth and put yourself out there in a bigger way. Do you know what I'm saying?
Stand tall and be empowered and not be like shrank, not allowed, not be intimidated by the men.
Yeah, get your ideas out there. Because I think in the beginning, I would just sit back and listen to them. But as a woman, we have to speak when we have ideas because it can really add to the project.
I love being authentic. I think it's a superpower. And
Yeah.
when you speak your truth, it's very powerful. Are you spiritual at all?
I'm very spiritual. As you see my crystals back here, I have my sage and my crystal.
Oh, nice. Nice. So have you always been that way?
So I was very small. I've always had feelings about things that would happen. I've always had a great intuition about things. More recently, just learning how to use that for business or just your everyday life, making decisions. Sometimes it's hard to make a decision if you're on the fence and checking in with yourself, saying, does this feel right? Or do I feel unease? You know?
Exactly. There's always a distinction because you're supposed to take action when it's scary and exciting, but then self-doubt comes in. We're like, is this a mistake? Every day we're making decisions. I was interviewing someone else and she said, every decision we make is either taking us closer or further away from what we want.
Yes, that's so true. I just had a conversation with someone, it was another interview a couple days ago. They asked me what I was doing differently now. And I was like, well, the one thing is I say no a lot, which I didn't used to do. Sometimes people think that's a bad thing, but it's really not. If something doesn't align with where you're heading, I always have goals that are written out that I'll just keep on my phone and keep checking in with it. That goes back to decision making. If something comes in and I'm like, oh, this looks cool, this looks like it would be fun, but really, does it add to what I'm trying to do right now, or does it help people? So that's always a good thing.
And how did you switch it up to decide you're going to start saying no more? You're going to put yourself first. Was there a defining moment when you just said, I have to make changes?
I feel like as women too, we do this just over, extending ourselves. So I'm really involved with the community. I'm in Rotary and Chamber of Commerce and volunteering with my kids. My kids are my first priority, and then everything else is underneath. And I always tell everyone that. So, obviously I'm going to be there if someone tells me to, but as far as scheduling, I try and schedule around their stuff if I can. But yeah, I think it just got really busy and I started to get that feeling of burnout a little bit.
Right. Like you're not as happy and you're like, well, what's happening? I'm supposed to be happy.
Yeah, exhausted and just like dragging around and not enough time for I love to walk outside and listen to podcasts. If I don't have time to do that, then I'm not much use when I go on an interview or something because I'm exhausted or I'm just not present enough because there's just so much going on. So yeah, I think it was just the busyness of everything. And so I'm still kind of going through and thinking, okay, what makes sense? Maybe I should do this once a month instead of every week or something like that.
I was a people pleaser. And so it was a trauma response and I've overcome, but it's like you still notice it showing up because it's so ingrained. What types of stories do you feel are still underrepresented in film? And what advice do you have for aspiring producers who want to break into the industry? I was just curious if there's anything you think that we could.
I think stories around youth and kids are really powerful. I was just talking to a friend in Miami about this. He's a coach, and so many kids, including my own, just want to stay on Roblox. They want to be online, talking to their friends, and it's a constant struggle trying to get them outside.
Yeah.
And I think I'm always just like, okay, let's go do something. And they're like, oh, I want to stay at home. But he said the same.
Yeah.
So I think getting stories or
Educating the youth,
getting ideas about how we can get kids outside and back to doing the things that we used to do when we were kids.
No, I agree. I think you have to just have rule. I don't know. I'm a teacher, a substitute teacher, but I know that it's not healthy to be staring at phone technology. It's just not our nature. We're not supposed to. It's draining, actually.
I would say that. And also, I've done a lot with mental health just because I enjoy helping people and seeing what can be done. And also with autism, I have a friend who's doing something this weekend, actually, a big event locally with autism. And I remember thinking when I first saw it, like, oh, wow, I wish we saw more of that,
You remember that Netflix show? Did you watch it? What was it called? It was amazing. Where the kid was
Disney?
what?
One. There's a few. Which one
Um,
was it?
oh my gosh, it was so good. My son and I were watching it. It was a family, and the one son was autistic, or maybe it was, I don't know. I can't think of it.
Just spreading awareness though about, things that maybe people don't know so much about, Yeah.
Exactly. Shining a light and not making it shameful. Because mental
Exactly.
health is, my generation, it was like you didn't see therapy. My family didn't believe in therapists and stuff. Where today,
No, and I
it's
think
like everybody has one.
I think that's a common thing, especially in England where I'm from. It might be more so now, but back then it was like, why would you do that? I think here in the US it's a lot more, people are more open to it, but
Do you know who Gabby Bernstein is?
I love Gabby Bernstein. I adore her. I used to read, oh my gosh, which book of hers? The Universe Has Your Back. I've read that book so many times, especially when I was starting to do the podcast, because I was like, oh my gosh, people are going to judge. Is this the right thing for me to do? I remember her book was so helpful because it was like, girl, you got to do this. You got to put yourself out there.
She's incredible. She has her new book, Self Help, which is on IFS, but she'll say, I'm in my therapy office every Wednesday at 5:30, even today. So she's like, not saying she's way up here. She's saying, I'm just with you too. I love that so much.
I need to get that book. I love reading those. I was saying to someone recently, I wish they didn't call it self-help. I wish there was like another name for it. Because some people are like, oh, I don't read self-help. And I'm like, why?
That's all
It's
I
just like
read. That's
I love it too. I read a lot of things, but I do love the self-help stuff. But yeah, there's so many great authors and speakers and who come out with such good stuff.
yes, it's so amazing. So what's next for Tallulah Films? Any upcoming projects that you can share?
I'll share this little tidbit. I can't share too much, but I'm working a little bit on a documentary which talks about being an entrepreneur, starting a business. My husband's involved a little bit on the other side of the camera. So I'm behind it on this one mostly. And just kind of our journey um, from nothing, really. I mean, we started, I was working and he came up with this idea, and now it's a super successful pet company. I think it might be Shark Tank's most successful pet company. I think he just told me
Wow.
that. I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Oh, wow.
So, it's just, it's not like you wake up one day, you're doing so much work every day to make it grow and make it better and evolve. I think the hardest thing is just getting started. People have ideas and they don't want to make a mistake.
Take messy action, right? Take messy action.
Yeah, it's that perfectionism mindset that kicks in.
Yes, exactly.
Sometimes you just have to start and perfect it as you go along.
Exactly. So if you could collaborate with any director or writer, who would it be and why?
Oh my gosh. I love Sophia Coppola. She's amazing. I love all of the Coppolas. They're awesome. Why? I just love the vibe and the artsiness of all her work that she's ever done. I still really like the independent kind of art house vibe when I think about my favorites. There's so many good ones, but I've worked on a lot of bigger movies like Transformers 2 was one I worked on. And I like working on those, but I gotta say I prefer doing the artsy, just,
Yeah.
the fun stuff to
I'm
me.
excited for that entrepreneur thing. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to share? We'll let everyone know how to follow you and find you.
I think with the podcast, I'm always interviewing guests to come on, and I think there's something for everyone. Like you said, the entrepreneurs. I've had quite a few on, and people are always like, "Oh yeah, I heard this person." The other one was Bailey Luttrell, who was just on American Idol. I had no idea he was even going to be on a couple nights ago.
Wow.
He was on my podcast. Someone pitched him to me a while ago, and I thought, wow, he's got a great sound. And he was a country artist then. So he
Nice.
was really pushing the country thing, and now he's doing more of the pop thing. But he's so talented, and it's always exciting to see where your guests, what they
Yes.
do.
Do you love podcasting?
I do love it.
It's
I
fun.
do. You like it too?
I do. I've been doing it since 2022.
Okay.
And yeah, I do enjoy it because it's brought me such amazing souls I never would have met. And I think I'm pretty good at it. So I do like it. It's time and energy though, like anything.
But it's worth it. It's so worth it. And yeah, you're right. You get to meet people and connect with people, just like today or virtually, which is so
Yeah,
cool. But
it's
this never
cool.
used to happen. I'm starting to do more that we're filming on a set or outside somewhere, wherever it may be, which
Yeah,
is fun too. But then there's a whole other thing because you've got lighting and all this other,
right.
there's just more involved when you have it all set up virtually is easier. But yeah, I like both.
That's amazing. So where can people find you and the podcast?
Yes. So the podcast is on most platforms, I think Spotify, all of them,
Coffee with
Apple.
Karina.
It's called Coffee with Karina.
Entertainment.
And then as far as finding me online, probably Instagram is the best way. It's Karina Michel official on there. So yeah, reach out and say hi.
We'll put the links in the show notes. And then you also have Tallulah Films on Instagram,
Yeah.
which I'm
Yeah.
following. Thank you for sharing all of that with us. I'm so happy to meet you, and we'll definitely stay connected.
Yeah. Let me know what your idea is. I'm curious now.
I
Your pet.
absolutely will. No, the story, absolutely, I will.
Oh, the story. That's right. You said you had a pet idea, but yeah, the
Oh, I
story I
do
want
have
to
a
hear.
pet
I
idea.
just noticed the dog behind you too. I noticed that earlier.
I mean, he's sitting over there on the, thank
Yeah.
you, my little rescue, my angel baby.
Oh, so cute.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope it was inspiring. I hope that you were inspired to step deeper into your power and embrace the abundance that's around you and within you. If you loved this episode, please share with someone you think would benefit. Subscribe so you know when the next episode is, and leave a review. It means so much to me to grow this audience. Let's try to help as many people as we can. Let's try to create a new earth. And let's stay connected. Follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram at Linda Brand Coach and Abandoned to Abundant. Also, if you're ready to take your transformation even further, check out my coaching and resources at lindabrandcoach.com. Remember, you are worthy, you are powerful, and abundance is your birthright. Take care, everybody. Till next time.